Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am your host, Jody Grunwald. This week, I welcome back Fred Wozniak as my co-host. He is the president and CEO of the Food Bank of South Jersey. Together, we interview Megan LeBoux, grant writing specialist for the Food Bank of South Jersey. We talk about how right now where you are is truly just a stepping stone to where you are heading. Megan was a guest on my podcast in season 1. She was in episode 15. During that incredible episode, we talked about vulnerability and imposter syndrome. In this episode, Fred and I welcome Megan back and talk about her new role at the Food Bank of South Jersey. We cover so much, but one thing you will take away from this episode is that worlds sometimes collide multiple times and always for a reason. So stay open to listening and watching for the signs and pay attention to the direction you may be called to go in. The three of us would not have met if we didn't do just that. Please subscribe to the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Today is the Day Live It. And if you could, it would mean a lot to me and all of the Changemakers if you could leave a review. Thank you so much and have a fabulous week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am Jody Grunwald, and as I say in every episode, I interview the changemakers, the inspirers, and those who are disrupting the status quo in the best way possible. And today I have two incredible guests, but the best part about these two incredible guests are that they are coming back. One of them this is his 5th time. The other, this is her 2nd. And so I'm so super excited to welcome guests back, hear about their incredible journey to date, and have a great conversation. So first up, I'm going to welcome Megan LeBoux. Hi, Megan.
Hello, Jody. Hi, Fred. Thank you both for taking the time. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
So am I. And the energy on the Zoom screen is, I hope it's beaming as you're streaming this or you're watching this on the YouTube channel. I'm going to read Megan's bio first. Megan is a grant writer and development professional with a decade of success crafting strategies and stories that amplify funding, influence, and impact for nonprofits. She currently is a grant writing specialist for the Food Bank of South Jersey and has helped raise millions for mission-driven organizations, including Our Pride New Jersey and the National Comprehensive Cancer Network Foundation. She serves on the Board of Women in Development New Jersey, a networking association dedicated to the advancement of women in their fundraising and nonprofit careers. She studied English literature and women's studies at the University of Scranton. Her love of language led her to Saxony-Anhalt. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Germany, where she served as a cultural ambassador and English language teaching assistant through the U.S. Fulbright program. Welcome again, Megan. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, I love talking with you, Jody. I've been looking forward to this. Thank you.
Me too. It's been a bit. We've been a little busy in between the last time we chatted. So this is going to be great. And then I get to welcome Fred Wozniak. Hi, Fred.
Good afternoon, Jody. It's good to be here with you again, and of course with Megan.
Yes, and
a fellow colleague.
Yes, and it's going to be a very interesting story that we're going to share in a minute because I'm excited about that. And also, Fred, what are we getting after this episode that I have to purchase for you?
Like the SNL jacket. This is like the 5th time I'm on here. So, yeah, 42 long. We're good to go. Awesome. And
for those of us who have watched SNL, Saturday Night Live, 5 times, you get the jacket. So I better start shopping. So this is, I'm looking forward to it. You'll get the first Today's the Day Changemaker jacket. I don't even have one. So this is great. This is awesome.
Wow.
But we also did honor you last year for our forum with the Inspire Change Award. So let's talk a little bit about your bio. Our people-centered, purpose-driven nonprofit leader, Fred has made a lifelong commitment to human services and community development. His background includes more than 35 years of executive management experiences in all aspects of nonprofit operations, from program development and education to youth camping and coaching. This includes 27 years at the YMCA, where he rose from program director to CEO, Goodwill Industries of New Jersey and Philadelphia, where he acted as the director of community resource development, and the Food Bank of South Jersey, where he currently serves as the president and CEO. Additionally, as the founder and owner of Humanix Consulting LLC, Fred has been providing a variety of consulting, training, keynote speaking engagements, and development services for board, staff, and nonprofit organizations since 2013. Fred, I can go on and on from this bio. But the one thing that I have to share with our group here that's listening is he's also an incredible mentor to many. And although that might not be in the bio, that is really, really true. I have been truly blessed to have Fred in my life. And I am so happy that he will be the chair of our next also Changemakers Forum. So Fred wears many hats. Welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you, Jody. You're so kind. But I think there might be a correction there. There's 2 letters before chair.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Co-chair.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I know. He started to sweat. I know.
And in all honesty, part of my strategy was to have Meg on here. And since we're colleagues, I'm going to need a great, competent committee to put this together. So
see where this
sorry,
is
going, Meg.
Fred.
This is, that's it. I mean, we're on live now, so it's
going back
so
now. No, I'm looking forward to it then.
So welcome to the committee.
Thank you.
We'll be starting very soon.
Boy.
Yeah, Kelly and I need to chat about dates to get things started. And I'm excited for those who are listening. Our Changemakers Forum once a year. We're a little late this year because a lot of things have been going on, but we brought 7 countries together last year to talk about topics that matter. And it was incredible. So I hope those who are listening, keep an eye out. More information will be coming soon on the date. But I have to say, Megan, when we first met, and I think it was Heather Barberi who introduced us from the Grennan Foundation. And I had asked, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this. I had asked you if you, Art Pride, when you were at this is back when you were at Art Pride, could be a part of our podcast. And you had said to me, well, maybe it shouldn't be me. And I'm sharing this because I want those in the audience to hear this is important. The message is very important. And I said, why not? Why shouldn't it be you? The work you're doing was incredible. So many of us out there don't consider ourselves change makers. We don't want to have the big ego. We may not think we're doing incredible and immensely empowering work. But as we sat there in that podcast, your podcast is one of the highest rated out of all the years that I've had. What do you think about that?
Oh, I'm getting a little verklempt. I remember that email coming through and initially thinking, oh, well, I'm not the person you want. You want someone a little higher up in the organization. And I think, I don't know, just that recognition, human to human, that we are all change makers, no matter your rank or title. I think that really kind of started me on a trajectory, to where I am today, because then, you and I started working together. You were my mentor. So mentor.
Wow. Cool. Now you're going to make me cry. I never bring tissues to these podcast episodes. And that means a lot. That means a lot to me. But I think what happened in that podcast, Megan, is that you got vulnerable, and it's very difficult to do, because you don't know who's listening. And this is international, right? You don't know who's listening, but there was something, and I don't know what it is for each different person, that nugget that they took away was different for them. But each one of them took away a nugget that made your podcast be in my top 5. And that's, pretty incredible. What do you think, Fred, about that?
Oh, I enjoyed Meg's podcast, and I was hoping today too that, her journey, we spoke a little about this, but her journey and getting called to go across, what do they call it? Across the pond, over to the, other side, Europe. And to find her way to the food bank. I think it's an incredible story. And there's no coincidences, but everything you do leads you to the next experience. And you don't realize all those, whether it's successes or, you stumble or mountains to climb, but all those experiences are preparing you for the next. And, Meg's incredible journey has prepared her for what a great time to be part of the food bank. And we need her skills. Her leadership personality certainly fit right in and leading the way. So we're blessed at the food bank. So her podcast, vulnerability in that journey, that's brave. I mean, not everyone can just get up and go and do what you did. So anyway, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Do you want to share a little bit, I don't know if there was anything you wanted to expand on, because you shared a lot about the vulnerability and the things that you had been through and kind of hiding behind, different things. I mean, you were an actor, right? And that was kind of, you shared that. And it was like, you hide behind that character, And then you come in the workforce and you're in nonprofit and there's no character anymore. Your name is front and center all over the place. Talk to us a little bit about that journey and that trajectory and going from Art Pride to the food bank. And I love the fact that I have two change makers working together. I don't have this is the first of its coupling that has happened. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you know what? Let me before Meg, excuse me, but we had this conversation because when I heard that Meg was applying for the job, I was like, oh, wait, is that the Megan, the legend? She's a change maker. She's been on a change maker. And so, everything all worked out the way it's supposed to be. So I think Meg, we did have a brief conversation about, how cool it would be. And so we kind of strategized like, you know what, that'd be cool. We're both two change makers through your work, Jody. We happen to be at the same place. We thought it'd be cool to get on here. So we kind of humbly invited ourselves to have this podcast. But excuse me, Meg.
Any day. Come back as often as you want. Go ahead, Meg. Sorry.
Oh, absolutely. No, there's so much I want to say about the food bank and just, all the different steps you take, you don't know where it's leading you. So going from, and I've had some time since Germany, it's been a few years, I've been reflecting on that, just kind of picking up moving and then moving back and not really knowing what I wanted to do, right? I acted for a little bit. I thought maybe academia. Everyone says they fell into nonprofits, or I was always just looking for a mission-driven organization, someplace I could feel good about working. And I loved working at Art Pride and being part of the arts, but I was there during the pandemic, right? And so everything everyone was doing changed. And so I realized more and more of the things I would get fired up about are more in line with what the food bank is doing, right? People should not be suffering. No one in this country should be hungry. So I started when I knew I was ready to move on, and was ready for my next move. I kept dancing around the food bank a little bit. I thought, oh, maybe I want to do reproductive justice, or maybe I want to do something else. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to stay in development or nonprofits, to be honest. I think so many of us reevaluated all of our lives during that time. So I was privileged and fortunate enough to have some time to reflect and to work with you, Jody, as a coach and mentor, to really hone in on what fires me up at work and what value I can bring to an organization. And for me, it was, I love language. I always have. I dorkily call myself a word nerd. That's why I loved teaching English abroad. That's why the grant writing process is really intriguing to me. It's this iterative process of we're figuring out, how do we want to tell this story? What data do we want to collect? What's going to connect with the person that holds the purse strings? So, and I couldn't be happier to be at the food bank. It took a little while to get here, but I'm so happy and blessed to find a place where I really want to put roots down and see how we can help our neighbors.
I don't think Fred knows what I'm going to share right now, but when you said you're a word nerd, I came to you when I was thinking about, okay, I have to go back and get, a little, another job, wear another hat. And I said to you, and we talked, and you wrote my resume for me. And you wrote incredible. It was an incredible resume. And the first place I sent that resume, I was fired. So it's pretty, word nerd all you want, because you write brilliantly. And it makes total sense that you're on the grant side. I mean, but you've got the personality side to boot. So you've got, front of the computer and behind the computer. It doesn't matter. Whatever you do, you're going to succeed at. But you talked about the dancing around, and I know it wasn't easy to leave another organization where you felt like, you did plant some seeds there. I want to just, if you don't mind, I want to talk a little bit about that feeling when some people feel kind of stuck. They're not ready to take the leap, but they're not happy. And what it takes to get to the point where you'll actually make a move. Can you share a little bit about that? And then Fred, I'm going to ask you the same question, because I love to hear your input on that as well.
I'm a very slow decision maker, and someone that tends to ruminate and overthink things. So it was, I mean, Jody, I think we were talking like years of going back and forth and really doing some like personal excavation, if you will, trying to uncover what do I like to do? That sounds so trite, but I'm going to stop editing in the moment and just
exactly. See, you're doing so good. And remember, the one thing I want to bring back here too is that vulnerability when it gets uncomfortable is when we start to question what we're saying and what we're doing. And I think it's important that people know that happens so often. It happens to me, that imposter syndrome piece, right? But just know that when you open up as you did, it was just beautiful, and people connected with you in that last podcast.
Oh, thank you. And I think that's one of my favorite, we kind of talked about networking. One of my favorite moments is when you get that moment of recognition with someone else, like, hey, we're both intimidated by the same things, or we both, are crazy dog fanatics or sports fans or whatever it is. So.
But you were saying that you did some I like that, personal excavation. That's a great term. And so you said you were doing that as you were trying to move yourself closer to saying, hey, I know that I want something more. I'm not sure what it is. But that leap of faith, whether it's about our pride and moving positions, or it's in general in life, what do you personally think it takes to get somebody out of their own way?
In my lifelong journey, I think it also takes a strong support system too, and knowing kind of the people you can go to and not just bounce ideas off of, but I'm very lucky I have a partner who was very supportive of me. Sometimes just having that psychological safety of, I had a couple people, it took a lot of other people saying, hey, Megan, like, you don't seem like yourself. You seem off. Like, people could tell I was stuck in a rut. And it took a couple of people saying, hey, you can take this leap and find, your next big thing. I ended up freelancing for a while, but having people that support you and people that kind of pump you up the way you guys are pumping me up today. Like, yes, you can do it. Yeah. There's so much more when you just let yourself try it. It took me a long time to get there. Also therapy, coaching, long walks, being in nature.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I'm
connecting with mentors.
That's a great answer.
Fred?
What?
What? Yeah. Wearing your coaching hat as a co-coach here.
I'm still wrapping my head around the wonderful answer. Can you repeat the question, please?
You got it, of course. So, what does it take for people to take that leap? That when you're feeling that insecurity within yourself and that negative self-talk is happening, that it holds you back. You have the imposter syndrome. Yes, Megan, I agree with Megan's answers are beautiful. Find your support system. But what else? Yeah. What else do you think you need in order to do that? For those who may be listening, feeling like I'm not happy where I am and I'm stuck, whether it's a career or it's relationships or whatever have you.
I think part of it is having the courage to wrap your arms around that unhappiness, the saboteur. Once you can name it and identify it with it, then I believe that will move you then forward. If people, hide from it, stay behind it, put it off to the side and ignore it. But until you identify what that saboteur is, what that unhappiness is, then you can move forward. And I believe too, then part of that moving forward, I love what Meg said, was a support system. To have people call out behind the facade that she was in her acting mode, trying to hide something, and her true friends said, hey, wait a minute, something's up, and called her out on it. And that's a great support system right there, because that just broke down a barrier. And so a support system is very helpful, because people that believe in you, they will support you. And when you have that support, then I encourage to take risks. If you have that dream, then take that risk, because not taking a risk is failure in itself. And if you take a risk if you take a risk and it doesn't work out, that's just an experience of something that you had the courage to try to do, to move toward your dreams. So it's a great support system. And when someone calls it out and supports you, you do get, as Meg said, you get energy, you get motivation. You know what? I'm going to go take this risk. I'm going to try this. And before you know it, that, the calling, you try these different things. And, if Meg danced around the food bank, well, you can't fight the plan, right? So all these things have prepared her, that trajectory, got her where she's supposed to be in this time. The cool thing is, though, Meg, and I think with you too, Jody, where we are right now in our journey, the exciting thing is, and I don't think we should contemplate it too much because you want to be in the present to enjoy what you're doing. But what are we doing right now that's preparing us for something greater that we have no idea what's yet out there? Now, if it's a dream of something different, right? A dream is just a dream unless you act upon it. But the cool thing is, all right, what is that next thing that we're working toward or I want to do? And how is this preparing me? And sometimes you have no idea that where you are today, you had no idea that this is where you're going to be 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So it's to be in that present moment, enjoy these times, taking those risks and having that support system and thanking those people for supporting you is a big deal too. So anyway, I'm babbling on here.
No, you're not. And I will always thank you, Fred, always publicly and as always.
Oh.
Because of the fact that when you do find those support people, those people who really listen and hear, and you said there are no mistakes or no accidents. I do believe everything happens for a reason. And the interesting thing, as you were sharing that, I thought to myself how Megan and I had our first podcast, and you and I had our first podcast, never ever thinking we'd have a podcast, the three of us together, because it was
Oh no, it is.
all three different worlds going on.
Yeah.
I connected with
Is that
you
something?
separately. And what you said about, okay, so where are we going to be in 3 years, 4 years? Like, who else will be joining us on that? I have no idea. It's just gonna go, everybody's gonna go work for the food bank, Fred.
We need all the help we can get. We got a lot of work to do.
I have to ask you, because I make you say it every time. Give us your beautiful mantra about being in the presence of others.
Oh boy, being present in the present of another is a present. It's a gift. It's a gift of kindness. And when you're truly present, then you're in tune with the whole person's spirit, mind, body, and heart. And then that's where the real communication comes in. So it's just being present.
And being present for a lot of people is difficult. They struggle with that because we're thinking about the regret from yesterday and the worry of what's to come. And so I know for myself, I'm working very hard on that. And anybody who's listening who struggles with that, meditation is a great way. And there's lots of other ways as well. But it's hard to live in the moment because we have fear and regret. So we have to try to keep those at bay. And where your feet are, I always say, is where your mind should be, right? That's kind of the saying. So yeah. So let's talk about the food bank and because I'll tell you, Megan, you're glowing. You've been glowing since you started there. Listen, I know working for, I know several people over there because of Fred, and they're an incredible group. They're doing life-changing work in the community. So talk to us about, going from freelancing to the food bank and what you're working on. Give us some background.
There's so much happening at the food bank, and I know I'm still learning. I'm almost about to celebrate my 5-month anniversary, and I'm
That is awesome.
Right, it's gone fast, and everyone tells me food banking time is different, and it is different.
That is so true.
It really is. And I'm constantly amazed by the work our colleagues do. I feel very lucky to get to learn all of the different pieces of the food bank and hopefully put them together in a way that's compelling I work with a lot of our government funders. So we're in Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, and Salem counties. So just trying to make the case to the people that help fund the work that, how many we're serving 170,000 plus people every month. I think
Yes.
A lot of people think the need, I don't want to say dissipated, but the need is greater than ever. And I thought, because we don't see the long lines like we did during COVID, I think people are still really struggling with the rising price of food. The new numbers that came out from Feeding America, we are a Feeding America partner organization. The numbers are really sobering too. One in 7 adults is food insecure. So it was certainly very eye-opening for me too. I kind of knew part of the circling around the food bank. I started seeing the trucks everywhere. All of the food bank of South
All of a sudden, yeah.
trucks right in my town, in places I know and love. And so just seeing how much the food bank touches and reaches, how many people it reaches has really been wonderful is not the right word because there's so many people in need, but I feel very humbled and lucky to be able to work for the food bank.
Fred, talk to us about,
Wow.
you've been food banking for quite some time now. And tell us about the organization, a little bit more about the organization, and you're working with Megan now and what's going on over there.
Yeah, first I know Megan's acting, so when she comes to the food bank, I don't know if it's the real Megan. I'm all confused now. Do we really know? No. We're getting to, at least I'm getting to know the real Meg, the Changemaker. It's being there for 5 months, Meg, I'm going on 6 years, and I'm still learning something every day. There's certain people that are just legends in the food bank, our food bank, that whenever they give a tour, I just jump on. A lot of times people expect me, which I like doing because tours are great. But if there's other people that have been there longer than me that give a tour, I learn something every time, which helps me. We are serving more than ever. There was the phrase during COVID that COVID brought the most food insecure events since the Great Depression. So for us, in our food bank of South Jersey, serving Camden, Gloucester, Salem, and Burlington counties, during the height of COVID, we were serving 95,000 people a month. Pre-COVID, 47,000 people a month. And you think about that's unacceptable. One is unacceptable. And since COVID, we're serving, as Meg said, over 170,000 people a month. And that's 170,000 different stories every month of, what are the root causes of hunger, poverty, but everyone has an entry point to those root causes. And we don't judge the root causes. We're there to serve. It's an incredible team. We went from 47 and, Meg found her way here, as many others. We're up to 95 staff. We're out of room, and it's kind of a joke that not too many staff have permanent offices, and we purchased a new building that's going to be our nutrition education center right across the road. So we'll have 2 buildings, but we're going to expand offices in the existing building once we move our health and wellness nutrition staff over there. But the kind of joke is just pack up your family photo, your picture of your pets, your fake flower, even those plants in every office. And then when you come in the next day, it's almost like, rent an office. Or where am I going to be today? Is Fred out today? Because I can use his office. And we got the Josh Allen bathroom, and it's got the fridge in here, which is nice because it's a nice conference room too. My office is a little bigger, so people use it as a conference room. It's an incredible team. I am so blessed, and to have talent like Megan and others. Every single person in every single department is a spoke to the wheel that helps us keep this rolling and staying ahead of it. It's just incredible, and really, it's a good time to be part of the food bank world because the mission is real. It is true to the need of our community today, and we want to shorten lines, but it's not getting any easier. And so, but we have a strong team, committed team, and a fun team. Today, we celebrated our 3rd or 4th annual Juneteenth celebration. Where it's just a great day of remembrance, culture sharing, history, and it's really nice. And staff partake. This is just one of several events we have throughout the year that we really celebrate and belonging of our team belonging. So it's yeah. Now there's 95 staff, so not every day, not everyone's smiling every day, and we have all those things, but it's really just a lot of good positive energy in that building. And I think, Meg, would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And brilliant,
Yeah.
hardworking, open-hearted people. I
Yeah.
feel. Yeah.
It is. Yep.
So how do people support, right? If you are a business, if you're an individual, either one of you or both of you, how do people get involved?
I'd like to hear Meg's answer on this.
I was going to say there's a reason I like to have hours and hours with a grant proposal so I can wordsmith everything and make sure I get it right.
I know this is going to be like, I'm going to learn something right here. I'm going to say, oh, geez, Fred, I've been saying it all wrong. Go ahead, Meg.
Well, first, I would encourage people to go to the food bank's website, foodbanksj.org. We are in, I'm not on the individual giving side of things, but we are in a campaign right now because we really are trying to bolster our funds so that we can respond to the needs of our communities as best we can. So you can donate online, you can donate, I mean, cash is good everywhere, money's good everywhere, but also food donations. I was part of my personal first Stamp Out Hunger food drive recently, and so that's a partnership with the U.S. Postal Service, or I should say the letter carriers. Many, a very long, strong partnership with the post office. But it was a fun opportunity for me to reflect. My mom recently retired from the Postal Service, my stepdad too. So I got to say like, oh, Doug, how about, he was a letter carrier for 30, 40 years. So I expected him, I was like, oh, Doug, like give me the dirt on how the letter carriers really feel about Stamp Out Hunger. And he said, oh, we loved it. Like people would bring, food and drink and support the carriers. Carriers would pick up other routes if, say the regular driver couldn't make it. So he just like lit up talking about this one event that they would have every year. So it was just another one of those ways that the food bank ends up connecting with a lot of different things. So if you forgot to put out your bag of food for the postman, you can also donate it to the Food Bank of South Jersey.
Awesome. And
Wow.
grant fund,
Can I?
and that was good, right?
No, I got to jump on this. Can I jump
Yeah,
in
go.
this? This is great. I love learning something every day. All right, small world. Yes, and this year was a record year for the work that our team with Kristen taking lead for one of our colleagues working with the letter carriers. We had over 260,000 pounds of food donated to the food bank. We're still sorting the food, and the timing of this, the second weekend, Saturday before Mother's Day, the timing of this, because it takes us so long to sort this, and we need volunteers to help us sort. So it really bolsters wordsmith, Meg.
Yeah.
Is that our food pantries for the summer, because when children are out of school, it's just an extra burden. So 265,000 pounds. So here we go. Here's the fun part, Meg. You ready?
All right.
So my dad retired from the post office after 31 years. And the Stamp Out for Hunger started in 1993. Now he was already retired for maybe 10 years. And since 1993, and he passed 7 years ago, I have 4 brothers. He would call us every single year. Don't forget to put out your bags of food. And the support, he's retired and he still supports it. I love what Meg said because it's so true. He supported, made sure his bag was out, and he'd call us. So, my role in the food bank world, putting the bags out since 1993, and actually now I'm working for the food bank. He's got to be thrilled in his, wherever his spirit of graciousness is. That's pretty cool. And I didn't know that, Meg. How about that? And on that day, I had the blessed opportunity to travel around to a couple of different post offices as they were collecting that day. And what Meg said about your mom and your stepdad?
Stepdad and my
Yeah,
grandfather
it's so,
too.
and your grandfather. It's so true. The postal, they were so, and when they saw, great, you can't help but feel good when people give. And when these letter carriers are receiving all this food, it's just a natural thing to feel good about it. And they can't wait to bring it in. And then the whole process of collecting it at the post office, bringing the food bank. Um, yeah, it's a good thing. How about that? What a small world.
Yeah, smaller. My uncle was a
There we
you
go.
were, yep.
Whoa!
Yep, he
Also connected.
was a mailman as well, is what we called them back then,
Yeah, I
way
know.
back when.
Hard
Postal
work.
worker, hardworking, walking. This was New York,
Yes.
no truck, walking. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah,
Oh
for
my
years and
gosh.
years. So yeah. So we have that all in common. Look at that, it's in the families. It's not my
That is
mother or
cool.
my father, but it's definitely in the family. So
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
amazing. It's awesome. So kind of going from there, Megan, you're doing more of the grant writing. So you're looking for, grants that are state government funded, correct?
Hmm.
So, you weren't there during obviously the pandemic. And I think that's what most people, felt very connected to, was to make sure that our food banks were funded, and that, anybody who was providing food or shelter was very, very important during the pandemic time. How are you? And you're only 5 months in, and Fred can share on this too. How is it looking now with the grant fundings for, state and federal, for food banks now?
Great question, Jody. I do have a limited knowledge base, but I will say I've been noticing, what do I want to say here? I'm noticing more funders recognizing that we need to talk about the upstream causes of food insecurity, right? So inadequate wages, lack of so many of the cracks in our systems that were exposed during the pandemic. You see, I mean, many people are a paycheck or two away from needing to stop by the food bank to supplement their food. And so I think I'm seeing now more funders recognizing of course, we need to provide food for people in need, but we really need to be addressing why this is a problem in the first place. And it intersects with so many things, right? With where you're living, with what ethnicity or race you are, right? Because a lot of the things that hurt people disproportionately hurt people of color or people living with a disability or on a fixed income, or even, in a very rural or very urban area. I think I was surprised to learn how many people in like rural South Jersey, where food is grown, are considered food insecure because you're so far away from, say, a grocery store that can stock fresh fruits and vegetables.
That's so true.
Anything
And
else, Fred, you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's affordable healthcare, affordable housing. Look at the rent, the market, and last year, with, as Mike said, with food costs or cost of living, things have gone up. Gas prices, the average family was paying an extra $367 a month. And when you're trying to make ends meet, 2 or 3 jobs in a family, you add $367 a month to that. Something has to give. And that's another reason. So federal programs have gone away. Our state has been very gracious to supporting the food banks in New Jersey. Our state of New Jersey has pushed up the SNAP benefits cliff went away a year and 2 months ago, and that's why we see a rise. For every one Feeding America meal, a SNAP benefit, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, provides 9 meals. Yeah, there's many root causes, and it's all interrelated, and that's why we're busier than we should be.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went to the food store the other day, and I just wanted cherries. I want to give a real live example here. Just wanted cherries. And the week before, they were like, I don't know, $2.99 a pound, right? Makes perfect sense. The next day, flip the week, and all of a sudden, 2 pounds are costing me $12.
Yeah.
And for 2 pounds of cherries. And I want to bring it down to brass tacks because we need to have the food that we want to put in our bodies is healthy foods. But unfortunately, as you know, both know greater than I do, it forces people who are on assistance or need the food bank. Thank goodness the food bank offers these healthy choices. But for those who get, other types of resources, a lot of times they have to choose between something that has a tremendous amount of preservatives to then the whole fruits and vegetables because of the pricing. And it was so frustrating to me that and you know what I mean? And I am not, not the person that has to, worry about as much as some other people do. And it is awful that for some families, for their kids, they have to choose these preservative based foods because the lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumbers of the world are too much money. And there's something that needs to be done.
Yeah, and that is a crazy thing. Because when you have a fresh tomato, you don't do anything to it. But if you can take that tomato and put it into something else and add all these other things, why is that less expensive than this? And, Salem County is one of our service areas. The closest grocery store, an Acme store, is 13 miles from the center of Salem City. But you have Dollar General, you have dollar store where there's foods, but it's all this preservative food. So the long-term effect of health and then medical, and then, without the healthy nutrition that's going into a child's body, there's just a ripple effect of behavior, absenteeism, all these things. And so, yeah, we have a lot of work to do, but it's becoming unsustainable for charitable service organizations to not only meet the need, but to resolve this systemic situation across the country. So we have a lot of work to do.
And Fred, you've got partner organizations that you're working with. Some of my new friends you introduced me to from the food banks around the state, and we so enjoyed another podcast with all of them as well. And so,
Yeah.
anything new or that you want to share about the partnerships that you're working on now?
Yeah, we're strong. It's the Fab Five, we call ourselves, at least the food bank Fab Five. And we're doing a lot of great work with Blue Cross, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation. We have a statewide initiative with their support, Feeding America's support on healthy pantries. And what does a healthy pantry look like to serve neighbors in our communities across the state for having available, nutritious, healthy food for choice, and how not only to have that food, but how do we present it? How do we make sure individuals in the community get to it? So that's right now that's our largest initiative throughout the state, and it's a good one.
That's great. Megan, one more time, give me that website if you don't mind.
Foodbanksj.org.
That's it. Yeah, you got it. You got it. 5 months in, you got it. No worries. No worries there. We could go on and talk for hours, but I do want to touch on just something before I ask you both our last question. Believe me, we're almost in an hour. Is that unbelievable?
Oh, that is crazy.
It is. But before we had gotten hit with record here, we talked about connections. We've also during the podcast here talked about those who support you, right? So how do there's a lot of people out there that will say, well, I don't know where to start. So you say to surround myself with people that are like-minded. You say that I need to find people who will support me. And I know for myself, there were many times earlier in my career, I didn't know who those people were. I didn't know how to find them. I didn't know where to look. And honestly, I was a little shy, to kind of share. So I'll leave it up to whoever wants to start and think about this. But for those listening, what nugget can they take away about how do they figure out who to connect with?
Go a little deeper
Yeah.
on your
Okay.
question.
Sure. So how do you surround yourself with like-minded people when you don't even know where to begin?
That's a good question. I'm
And
hesitating because I know Meg has the right answer here, and I'm going to.
Gonna give me a big head, Fred.
well, while you're thinking
I
about it, I'll tell you why I asked the question. So I
Yeah,
remember
go.
driving around on Route 1 in Plainsboro area, working for the American Heart Association. And I remember knowing my role. I was executive director and it felt great and I loved what I did. But I, like you, Megan, decided it was time for me to move on. And I really just didn't know where to even begin to start that process. And the people that were around me were all AHA people. They were great people, but they didn't know me intricately. And I was all business. So the personal side of my life kept very much to myself. But I didn't feel like I was waking up every day feeling connected to where I was. So I knew that I wanted to become a coach, but I didn't even know how to go about it and where to start. And miraculously, I don't know how. And I know I listen to other people talk about miraculously, and I'm like, how do you have miraculously? It sounds great in theory. I put it out there and I listened to a lot of different podcasts, and I tried really hard to figure out how I was going to connect to those people. And I did wind up doing that, and I can share my story of how that happened. But you both had, your trajectory has you in a place right now not where you started, so you had to connect with people along the way that helped to raise you and lift you up to where you are, and that had to start somewhere. And in sharing, where did that start and how could someone take something away from learning where you started, because that's how it helped. When I listened to other podcasts and things, I was able to do that by listening to other people lift it, how they got lifted up. Brett, I feel like you shook your head yes, and you might have something.
Yeah, no, that helped. That helped. It's along the way, conversations. If someone made you feel authentically good or comfortable or safe, someone you would want to return back to, whether it's hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee. And it could be, the casual to connected to committed. It's a continuum.
Mhm.
And so, but if someone authentically made you feel safe or good and gave you a little, anytime you leave, I talked about this, oh my goodness, resident leadership. When you're in a role or if you are in a conversation in a group setting or work setting, even yourself, if you're surrounding yourself with people and conversations, how are you showing up? How are you presenting yourself? You always want to make people feel good. You want to make sure they understand, remind them what the purpose is, right? And so if someone reminded you somewhere along the way what your purpose is, there's a safe connection there. How do you practice empathy? How do you be present? We talked about that. And how do you have a spirit of fun, but also inspiration? Every time someone leaves you in a conversation, they feel inspired. If you were the receiver of that inspiration, and whoever that was, make sure you stay with that connection because that's someone that somehow was present enough to believe in you and see something in you. Come back to that person. And you never know, 5 years later, that person may be coming into your life and realizing that, wow, I had no idea 5 years ago, and now we're here. So it's just staying in tune of those who really authentically made you feel safe, made you feel good, empowered, and so forth. So don't forget those people. I hope that
It brings you
answers
back
your,
to, no, it does. And it brings you back to being present, right? Because you may not even
yeah,
realize you're inspired unless you're paying attention or that you're
yeah,
connected to that person. I do
that
want
is
to add
correct.
I want to add one really quick thing to that too, is sometimes you're feeling that chemistry and the other person may not answer your email right away or might not return your phone call right away. And that feels like a rejection. But that doesn't mean that you're rejected. If you're reaching out to that person you felt connected to and they didn't answer, coming from very, busy people on this podcast too, sometimes it takes a little time. And unless you get an answer, sometimes you have to go back and say, hey, I didn't know if you received my email or can you have a
Yeah,
conversation? Don't give up. It may not be the
yeah,
right person if you reach out and you felt that connection and they didn't and they're moving on from that conversation. There's someone else that's supposed to come in your life, so pay attention to that. But Megan, I don't want to steal anything that you might have, so please,
yeah.
anything else you want to share?
Oh, I was just going to say, I've been very shy. I was a very shy child and very shy a lot of my life. And Fred, you always seem surprised when I say that, but
I
I
know.
can remember like pumping myself up in the car before going into a conference, in the ladies' room, just like sometimes it's, taking a moment to arrive, which I didn't realize
Yeah.
I was doing until Fred put it much more eloquently, take a moment to arrive. Um, but I would sometimes do something as simple as challenge myself to talk to one new person, just talk to one new person. And it doesn't have to be, some life-changing moment. It started with, you're in the ladies' room. Oh, can you believe they're out of paper towels? Something as
Ah,
silly as that. It
yeah,
sounds ridiculous. I'm also a fan of, you know, complimenting someone, learning their name. Everyone's favorite. People love
that's
the
so
sound of
true.
their own name, and rightfully so. So I think, and I still do it before events too, because I'll turn to my husband and say, why do I do these networking things? I get so anxious. And he always reminds me, like, you do this every time and you're fine. Sometimes it's just
Yeah,
reminding yourself, I've done this before, I can do it again. And to your point, Fred, being in spaces and around people that are the kind of people you want to be, right?
yeah,
Surround yourself with the energy and the people that you'd like to match.
that's true. That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am surprised you say that all the time. But those are power poses, right? I think we talked about that
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along the lane. So you go in the ladies' room, you get in the car. What are your power poses? What's going to, get yourself psyched up? And good for you.
Yeah, mine is, what is your theme song, right? Pick a song that makes you feel like you're ready to drive and you feel pumped up, you're dancing, you're having your
Yeah,
little dance party in the car. What is
that's
that?
so
Listen to
true.
that song before you go in, right? Because you're all pumped up and you can hear it in your head. And it's not, it's just a nice feeling, especially if you love music. It's a great way to connect, whatever it is you love to do, or
That
whoever you
is
like to
true.
talk to. Before you walk into a space that you have some feeling vulnerable, it's good to make sure that you honor that. So I appreciate that you both shared that. Before I get to the last question, like I said, I could talk to you guys for hours. Um, Anything else you want to share? Leave it open to any topic, anything else that comes to mind.
What inspires you, Jody?
You know what? The truth of the matter is the work that I do, and I have been very blessed that I have people like yourselves that I'm surrounded by. What inspires me is how many people I know who really care about making a difference in this world, and they inspire me every day. Whether it's kids, through my nonprofit, or businesses through my other organization that I run, and this podcast. Those are the things that truly inspire me, my family, my kids. Seeing them achieve their baby steps of things on their own and the wonderful work that they're doing, totally inspires me to keep going. So I think I have a lot of inspirations, but I also have, just like everybody else, those days where I have to remind myself what they are, right? Like we all go
Yeah,
through those moments, and to realize it's a moment in time. And like you said, Megan, your husband says to you, hey, you've done this before. And it's like, okay, you've been down before. You felt kind of like it's a bad day before. So that, you put your head on the pillow, and the goal is to wake up the next day with a little bit more inspiration. Like I'll go to the bay just to feel that connection to the water. And that's where I'm seeing a sunrise. So find what it is that lights you up.
well, thank you for that. I know, just to stay with you a little bit here, Jody, because Meg and I did say we were going to interview you, right, Meg?
Yes, feel
Yeah.
free.
You think about that, the work you do with your foundation, youth,
Yes,
the work that you do with as CEO of MODC, did I say that correctly?
you did.
All kinds of professionals and individuals of within 2 counties of work. And then through today's day Changemakers program, how many international individuals, people you have met that are now part of you and your connection and what you've brought a lot of people together across the world? How many nations? So I think about your connections and what you've done in all these.
Up, your connection is not connecting, Fred. We lost you there for a minute.
These pockets and these communities worldwide.
Oh, Fred, we lost you for a second. Can you ask that last part? Can you share it again?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Yes, you were saying about you were very much lifting me up, so I appreciate that about all the about all the
You just,
connections worldwide.
oh, you wanted to hear the compliments again
No,
of
I
how
just
you
wanted to hear
connect?
where you headed, where you landed. I wanted to know
No,
where
I'm
you
just
landed.
saying it's what a blessing it is to be on this podcast with you again, because of the work that you do is from youth to professionals to those in need and worldwide international, bringing people together. So it's nice to be here. And I want my jacket. But
You're
anyway,
getting
that's
your
enough.
jacket. No worries, I will get you your jacket. But I just do want to mention though, something. I didn't know how to do any of those things. And and years ago I didn't even have the guts to try to take the leap of faith. And and I know that I felt very much like it's never going to happen, feeling down about myself until I got frustrated. I got frustrated with myself. I got tired of feeling bad about myself and tired of feeling like I couldn't do all the things that I was seeing other people do. And just saying, what is my life going to be at the end? I wanted it to mean something. I feel like we're taking up space in this world, and how can I make a difference every day by taking up that space? And I said, I'm not going to let the naysayers, because there's a lot of them, out in the world, or the ones who won't give you the respect, because I started a nonprofit that didn't have a national name, and said, no, I'm going to try to scream it from the highest rooftop, and not in an ego way, but just to kind of prove the point that if you can share from your heart authentically, then people will listen and you can be heard. And it's not about me. It was about bringing all of your stories to the forefront, not my story, because that's how I was lifted up. And I'm feel totally blessed. I swear when people ask me how did it happen, I don't know the answer, but it was because all of you said yes. And you gave me the opportunity to interview you. So thank you for that.
I just want to touch on one thing you said, because it was similar for me too, the discomfort of not doing what I was meant to be doing, or the discomfort of being in a rut or feeling how I was feeling. When that got to be more than the fear of trying something new, that's when things started changing. Just get frustrated enough with yourself to try.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
that could take years, unfortunately. So those who are listening, don't let it take years.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. It took my dad passing away for me to actually take a leap of faith, and it didn't have to take a tragedy to make that happen. I say that all the time. So do what's in your heart and find the people who will support you, or talk to any of the three of us. We're always willing to
Yep.
help lift people up. Well, now I want to ask you guys the last question. And so, who is your idol and why? What is that person who you may have never met, or you maybe have met them, given to you? And listeners, you can tell we do not script anything. Actually, we don't even give questions. This is all done naturally.
I'm ready. Look,
Yeah,
Meg, are
go
you
ahead.
ready?
I'm not, please.
This may be different, but as a parent of three children, parents, my wife, and when people tell you that once you have grandchildren, it's the most unbelievable feeling in the world. Well, until it happens, I never understood it until it happened. And we're blessed with, we have three grandchildren, three under three, twin girls that are 9 months old. And their older brother, Everett, is going to be 3 years old. They're going to be 1 year old in August. He's going to be 3 years old at the beginning of September. But here's the coolest thing. When you asked that question, it just popped right in there. My my role model, my idol right now is Everett, my grandson. To see, he gets the phone. They live in Portland, Oregon. He's FaceTiming every day, and he's talking now. And if it's when I'm at the food bank, he'll, Papa, he called me Papa. Papa, are you at work? And thank goodness my daughter really is coaching him well as a parent. Papa, you at work? Or Papa, you sleeping? And we'll just have like, I said, well, yeah, I'm at work. I got to go. I'll call you later. Okay, bye. To live with him in total freedom, exploration, curiosity, adventure. It's just so cool. And I'm just loving it. It's beyond the joy for my wife and I just yeah. And so yeah, he's my, I think I remember my three children's names, but hey, it's all about the grandchildren. And that little guy, boy, he has just touched all of us. And yeah, there we go. There's my answer.
It's a beautiful answer. Thank you, Fred. I love that. It's amazing.
There's no way
Megan?
to follow that answer. That's beautiful.
No,
So I will say, I really have to, instead of picking one idol, I'll just talk about how groups of women empowering other women have helped me, and the value of having friends and colleagues and mentors of people that are different ages or in different stages of your life to give you perspective that you won't always feel like this insecure 30-something or yeah, I just completely lost my train of thought because I was thinking about Fred on day 2 or 3 of working at the food bank. I was invited to an event you presented with the Association of Fundraising Professionals, South Jersey.
oh, yeah.
And at that meeting, we identified our strengths and the things we wanted to work on. And I remember being a little afraid of saying out loud to like you and my other boss, Lavinia, I really want to work on my relationships. And in fundraising and development, everything is relationship based. So to admit, like, I would really like to work on these skills. I feel like, especially during the pandemic, I kind of retreated into myself and making a commitment to myself to cultivate relationships with my colleagues or the women on the board of Women in Development New Jersey. Or I should give a shout out. I would like to give a shout out to, I talked about personal excavation and discovering what lights me up. I actually did that through a structured program through this wonderful Colorado-based woman-led organization called Bossed Up to help women boss up and kind of take control of their careers. So surrounding yourself with people, and I'm also, and Fred, I know you don't believe me, I'm also an introvert too. I really have to push myself to work on those relationships and to put myself out there, but it's taken a lot of practice, but it's been worth it for me. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that Jody, you'd be surprised that Meg just said that, because when she's in the office and when you're within your immediate team, within the development office, it's incredible. But when we have functions, you're there, but to hear you got to work your energy to get to that point. You're certainly doing a great job at it.
Need that.
But that's great. Wow.
Rewarding.
Yay. Oh. Can we ask you, Jody?
Yeah. What do you want to ask me?
What you asked us? Who's your idol?
Who's my idol? Oh gosh, now I'm on the hot seat. I love that. I can't pick one. That's the problem. Like, I don't have one. Well, that's not true. You know what I would say? It would be my dad. My dad, for sure. You make me cry. He taught me so much. You are gonna make me cry.
Go for it.
Yeah, it was really just losing him was tough, but he was that best friend, no judgment. There's not a lot of people out there like that's a family member, like that's just kind of like zero judgment. He always said, I don't give my opinion, I give my observation, because opinions mean you have to take, when people feel bad, if you ask them their opinion and you don't take it, like which dress should I wear? And then you wear the other dress, or which job should I take? And then you take the other job. And he always said, I'm not going to do that. So I'll give you my observation, never my opinion. And he used to call me on the way to work to make sure I got there okay, even in my early 40s. And he was just somebody who didn't have a tremendous education, but worked his way up to have a really great career. He taught me everything about business, and he celebrated every single one of my wins and my kids' wins, and was always just extremely supportive in there. I could talk his ear off for 10 hours and he'd still listen. And it's hard to find those people in your life that can do that. He was my dad, so yeah, he was family. And but the funny thing is, he was like that with mostly everyone, not just because I was his daughter. And that
Wow.
his friends still feel the whole of his loss in their life. And every day I do my very best to honor, my idol in any way that I possibly can, because he was just such a huge force. But the interesting part, and I'll just share this real fast, is that we didn't have that early on in my life. He wasn't that person. He evolved into that person. So even those relationships that may not, because my parents split up when I was younger, even when those relationships that may not be where they are right now, where you want them to be, they can work their way to an incredible place, as mine and my dad's did. And then we named a foundation after him. And my whole thing is I'm all about honoring those who have been lost, who took up space here, who did the best they could while they were here, to be honored in a certain way. And I'm blessed to be able to honor him through the Uploader Kids Foundation.
Ooh. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It didn't take me that long to figure that one out. I guess it was, yeah. But we all have, every single person has someone that they look at that they go, kind of wish I could speak like them, or kind of wish I could, be like them, or, those are the people that you look to be your mentor. We can't be someone else or be exactly like the person, but there are bits and pieces we can take away and honor them with when we share who we are, and they become part of us too. Anything else, my friends?
It does. Oh my
What, friend?
goodness, it's 7 o'clock.
No,
It's 7 o'clock. Holy smokes.
no. You're so funny. I don't know.
This is
I might be
awesome.
putting this out there in a 2-part series, which is great. I don't mind that at all. We could go on and on. It could just be the three of us as the hosts. I don't even have to host on my own anymore. We'll just all talk to each other every week.
Well, let's do the bingo. Woo. So Meg, well, back in the office next week. Let's figure out. Let's invite someone that then you and I can join as host with Jody. We'll bring someone on.
Yeah.
Does that sound cool? All right. Well, all right.
That would be amazing. I would love it. And we'll have follow-up conversations, because there's a lot of things we didn't get to. I know we want to talk a little bit about leadership and networking and other things. There's a lot of things. We all have different backgrounds, and when we come together, we share different thought processes. People learn from whoever they learn from, There's a nugget for everyone. Yeah.
There is. And that would be good, because I'm still looking for a great committee. So Meg, think who else can help with us on the committee now. Yeah, that's who we'll invite. We might not like them or care for them, but man, if they're a good worker. I'm kidding. No, I didn't say that. Can you edit that part?
Edit
No.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
No,
You're gonna hear
all
that
right,
in
but
it.
we'll
You'll
come
hear
up
that
with
in there.
someone.
Oh, quick thing. I just want to make mention of this publicly. I was on Nick Marco's podcast called The Opportunity Coach podcast.
Wow.
He is a franchisee, but his dad was the one who started Hand and Stone Massage. And actually, Nick is the one who named Hand and Stone Massage, and he owns a couple other franchises. But Fred, just so you know, I talked about you on that podcast. So if you listen to it, you'll hear your name mentioned.
Oh my goodness. I will.
Yeah, you're
Wow.
famous.
I think we have some Hand and Stone products in the house here.
There you go. That's great. Look at that.
All right. Well, I'll find it on his podcast or through your Changemaker one. Which one?
No, through his Opportunity Coach. I highly recommend. Listen, he's an incredible inspiration as well. And he's got a lot of great things to share. So take a listen to that. For those who are listening to this, I love sharing other people's podcasts and letting other voices be heard. And he has other guests that are phenomenal. And so I hope you'll take a listen. It was interesting to be the one interviewed. So I did sit on the other side for a little bit.
Oh, that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That's a streamed one. But anything else, my friends?
No.
I think so. We could talk forever, but
Yeah.
probably as good a place as any to.
Yeah. This was awesome.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
So thank you both, Fred Wozniak, Megan LeBou. I am just so
Yeah.
excited to talk to you guys again. And I know we'll do this again. Fred will wear his jacket by then. He'll have his jacket, so we'll have to wear it
Oh,
on the shows for the YouTube channel people
oh,
to watch.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I'm excited because Meg had the one of the top views with your podcast. The fact that I'm on with her now, with you, Meg, and with this is going to shut down. This is going to shut down. This is going to shut it down. What
it's
an honor.
going viral. It's going viral.
It is. This is so cool. Thank
Well,
you.
Megan, I want to wish you the best of luck. I know you're just going to continue to thrive over at, the food bank there in South Jersey. It's just, you're going to have a great career there. And Fred, I'm just
Yep.
always so proud to have you on as a co-chair or a co-host, I should, and co-chair of
Yeah,
the
thank
forum.
you. We got
Yeah.
that right.
Yes, I got it right this time. But I'm going to
Yeah,
say what I
this
say.
was fun.
It was fun. Thank you again. And I'm going to say what I say at the end of every podcast. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what steps, small or large, are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goals? Thanks again, Fred and Megan.